and you just tell me when to get going.
Yeah, I say just go ahead, and then I'll just send them a link to the video.
All right, what we're doing today is talking about how to use SmartRate, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, just the general philosophy and just some of your sales tactics on how to use it best.
I got you. Okay, so yeah, I'm hoping that everybody can see my screen right now. Good. All right, we're going to go into SmartRate, and the part of the philosophy behind SmartRate is the idea that you can get more from people by adjusting in different ways what you're getting, either schedules that are longer or deeper. Now, the system is based upon rates that you're working with and putting in with other people, and hopefully Ryan has been working with you to get those correct. And so, I'm sorry, who's feeding back? All right. So hopefully what we're getting here, we're going to start in with the general Influence FM. We're going to go down the left side, and we're going to come up to where it says SmartRate. And we're just going to click the new contract. Now, don't worry too much about everything I'm doing. I want to give you the overall feel for this to start with. Now, in our case, we have Okay, I've muted Eileen for now, so we can get through this. I'll unmute you in a bit. So in our case, we have multiple offices. So in this case, I'm just going to pick...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ryan?
His name is ETN.
Oh,
they're out in the islands. That's all right. They're out in St. Martin. So I think sometimes I have troubles with his phone, and I think he's having issues.
Okay, well, it's ATN, so that means his name is Steven. So here we go. We picked the South team, and I'm going to pick an employee just for this case, and I'll choose my own name here, which is somewhere in here. I'm missing. All right, so we'll just use somebody else. I'll go to Eric. Now, the next thing is once you choose who you are, now in the case of most of your salespeople, that will come in as just who you are. In the case of somebody who's a sales manager, he can choose amongst the people, or if you're in the case of where I am, where I'm a super user in my station, I can choose from anybody. Automatically, it brings you your customer list. So whoever you're signed in as, you've got their list. So I'm going to click up the account here called Bone Daddies. And now every contract needs a name. Now this name ends up on the contract, so sometimes you can be a little fun with this. Best rates for a friend. All right. Oops, it's not a friend, it's a friend. F-R-I-E-N-D. Okay. And the next thing it wants to know is what your contract type is. Now we've got three types settled in here. One is cash trade bonus, one is package, and one is called a one sheet. In general, we'll be working in cash trade or bonus. All right. Believe it or not, the contract is now set up. And then we come over to this green box here on the left where it says add a contract line item. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and pop a contract item on here. And it's going to want to know a lot of things. So the first thing is it might want to know the line. Now let's say for argument's sake you're doing 3 or 4 different promotions and you want to call this one, Wino Wednesday. All right. And is this line cash, trade, bonus, or some kind of custom thing? Now, if you went to a custom thing, everything changes up here in terms of what the rates will be and whatnot. And this is where you can force a rate if you have the clearance to force a rate. In other words, this is a option by rep. But I'm going to go back and say it's a cash line. And this line, let's say we're going to start it on the 15th of December. And we're going to run it through the end of December of this year. What's my day part? Well, let's say I'm going to run this only in morning drive. So here's morning drive, which in this case is 5:30 to 10. And let's say I want to run one ad per day, Monday through Friday. And then up here, I'm going to choose that this is a 60-second ad. Next up, you choose your stations. And let's say I'm only going to pick one station. Okay, I could pick others, but let's just go with that for now. An advanced option is my run and skip. Run one, skip one, and whatnot. We'll get rid of that. Now, if I want to take a look at this point and say, all right, where am I at? Here's my contract. I saved this thing. Whoopsie. Something changed. Hang on. I got to go back. There was a refresh thing I was supposed to hit there. Buttons keep on moving. All right, so if I come in here, come back here. Okay, the 15th through the 31st, morning drive, 60-second ads.
The blue button.
Thank you.
Underneath. There you go. Up underneath advanced options.
There it is. Thank you, Ryan. I couldn't remember where that button was, guys. I'm sorry. It moved from where I was used to. Now, here's what happens. If I take a look on the right-hand side of this little box, it shows me that it's a 3-week order, 13 weeks, $76 per ad, so a total of $988.13 for this ad. Now, let's say that that's expensive for your market. Here's where the salesmanship begins to come in. I open the order back up, and the guy says, my God, you're kidding me. He goes, that's absolutely ridiculous. I can't spend that money. I say, well, listen, first thing is this. Usually, you don't buy just 1 week from me. You usually end up buying 10 or 12 or 50 weeks at a time. So for the heck of it, let's just take this and let's move it out to the end of December of 2015 as if you were buying it as an annual. And now we come down here and we go to December 31st and we save it again. Now, our $76 ad rate, which was up here on the right-hand side, has come down to $50.53. By making him buy more, it has come down. But he says, geez, you know, Chris, that's just still too darn high. I understand. You've ordered a 60-second ad, but I'm here to tell you that my crack-savvy, motivated staff of highly trained professionals can produce you a 30-second ad and get you more frequency for the money, and let me show you what that costs. Now, as we do the calculation, if you watch the right-hand side of the screen, the contract blended rate is now $28.07. But now we want to talk about other things. Mr. Businessman, one of the things you're doing is you're running just in morning drive, and that's fine, but you miss all the people who listen to the radio during the day, and not to mention the people that are listening between 7 o'clock at night and 10 o'clock at night. And by the way, if anybody has ever told you that that's not a time to be on the radio because that's TV's prime time, according to Nielsen ratings, 2 out of 3 Americans are listening to the radio during TV's prime time. You say, how can that be true? Very easy. Just go out to your local Walmart store and count the cars in the parking lot between 7 and 10 p.m. These people are on the road, and that's when you reach them. So what we do, without going into a whole lot of detail, is say, let's do this. Let's open up the day part and go into a 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. And now if you do that, what happens to your blended rate? Let's watch that right-hand side where it says contract value over here, and we're now down to $22.45. But here's the interesting thing. While we were originally looking at an order that was a total of about $900, we now have a $6,000 order. So what we're saying is, I can get you any rate you want depending upon how you buy it. Now, there's 2 ways to look at this, and if you look down at the bottom here, and I'm not sure if you can see my cursor or not, we can look at this contract weekly, monthly, or summary. Most salespeople take their contracts out monthly. Let me show you this. The system will generate this beautiful monthly contract suitable for framing with your logo on the top. Now, you remember that part where I wrote best rates for a friend? It's right up here on the top left. All the rest of the information is there, and this customer can see how much they're spending per month. But let's try to be a little bit more like newspaper. Instead of talking about how much they're going to spend per month, let's click the little thing that says weekly. And now what they can see is, well, it's only $112 per week, which is less than the price of a small ad in the newspaper. I have a good friend, his name is Hunley Batts, and Hunley doesn't take out either one of these. When he sends his salespeople out, he sends them out with the summary report. And what the summary shows you is you're going to be on K-Rock from this date to this date. These are 30-second ads. The rate per ad is $22.45. You have saved $12.09. You've got a $3,013 discount. He likes having his people sell this way. But whichever way you do it, it's all there. Now, that's just one line. Let's say you're smart and you come back here and say, listen, Mr. Businessman, I know that you usually buy my station and you buy KXYZ across the street. And they're a really good station, don't get me wrong. They have some great music, great announcers. I think they're a good buy. But let me show you what happens if you buy my oldies station. If you buy my classic rock and my oldies, now I'm going to want everybody to watch the blended rate right up here. Because what's going to happen is your blended rate is actually going to come down. And now we're at $21.37. Now, if I were to go ahead and print out the orders, you would see that each order does carry its own rate. So if one station is higher than the other, on the contracts, each one shows its own rate. So for example, here is the KFAT rates, which show in here at $20.30. And on page 2, if we go to the K-Rock, it's the one showing at $22.45. Everybody carries their own rate, but here it will show you the blended rate on this contract. By the way, there's more. One of the things that this takes into account is your inventory loading. And I'm not here to teach inventory loading today. This is a part of the setup that the team does with you. But I happen to know that on both of these stations, the Sunday loading is much lower than the weekday loading. Now, I want you to watch up here this $21.37 contract value, the blended rate. But now we're going to put 10 ads on Sunday, and we're going to save this line. Watch what happens to our blended rate. It comes down to $19.09. Again, the amount of the contract has gone up significantly. We're now talking about a $31,000 contract. So what we're doing here is we're playing games with the different rates. Saying, yeah, you want to be at $4. Let me show you how low we can go. Watch this. Let's go to a 24-hour rotation. You say the client says, I want the absolute rock bottom rate on your radio stations. Fine. Let me show it to you. And here it is. $12.40. You're running your ads 24 hours a day. And by the way, this also calculates if you add more bulk to the contract. Let's say I go to 8 ads per day, every day of the week, and it will add up the weekly bulk based upon how you have set up your stations, whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly. So it's measuring spots per day across multiple stations. We're now down to $11.80 on a $74,000 contract. Now this is the basics of how to use SmartRate to negotiate right in front of a customer. And what it does, it's just yield management. It's based upon the way you set up your radio stations when we started working with you right off the beginning. You want to see the station totals? They're all here. You just click the little station totals. If you want to see where the cheap ads are, you can see that too in some of the background applications by clicking on them. If you have to go to broadcast billing over standard billing, it does it here. If you want to switch between net and gross, it does it. If you want to include co-op, you click the co-op button, and the co-op button signals the system that it's going to have to be matched up with copy when it comes out through billing. Down here we ask this question, is the contract signed? Yes or no? Now in the case of our company where all contracts are stopped with the general manager, he is going to get a notification on his phone or wherever that this contract is waiting. And it's going to show whether or not the contract is signed. This is where this becomes important because if I'm signed in as the manager, I'm looking over here, give it a second to come back, in the pending actions. And in the pending actions, I will see this contract. And I will see this first one up here that says Lake Havasu Girl Scouts? It says it's not signed. So as a manager, I may choose to approve or reject based upon this. I'm looking at it. but without a signature, I might hit reject. In this case, I'm going to approve it because it's a PSA and I really don't care if it's signed. This contract here for Thunder Road is a $250 contract that is signed. And as long as I like the way it looks, I'll go with it. All right, let's go into something a bit more complicated now. We'll go into the South team, and we're going to go into Carrie here, and we're going to pick one of her customers, and I'm going to go with Four Paws, and I'm going to let the system know it's from me so nobody loses their mind. And I'm going to say it's a cash trade or bonus. So I want to add the contract line to this. Now we're going to get a little crazy with this one. We're going to go with Wino Wednesday. I only call it that because we have a customer that does that. And I'm going to run this one starting on January 1st. And I'm going to run this for, let's see, weeks. I'm going to run it for 52 weeks. So it'll set the end date automatically when I click auto. And you see it's now 12/30/2015. The day part I'm going to run is my basic ROS, 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I want to run 4 ads Monday, 6 ads, and then 10 ads Wednesday. And I want to run this on my adult contemporary station and my, whatever you call that, a classic hits station. And I save that. Now, let's imagine for a second that I also have a shopping show. So let me add another contract line to this. And my next line, let's say this is going to be the shopping show. Shopping show trade. And this will come up as trade. And let's say I want to run that concurrent with the other one. And we'll do 52 weeks on that. We'll run this as a 30. And we'll run that at 10 Monday, 10 Tuesday on the classic rock station. Now, as I did this, I just remembered that I've got a problem in my other schedule because I forgot to set the copy length and it came up as a 15. So I have to go back up here now, change this to a 30, and just save the line. Now what happens is we've got the two contract lines put together, and if I want to go ahead and get my contracts, here they are. And by the way, when these come up, you can either print them out on your printer or print them to PDFs or send them right to our presentation builder software. All right, this contract is here. That's a cash contract. And by the way, you can tell it's a cash contract because the word cash, and I hope you can see this highlight, right under the name of the business, it says cash. All right, this next one down is a cash contract. Then I've got a trade contract and a trade contract. It prints out all of the contracts separately so you can get a signature on each contract for each different station. This doesn't sound like complicated, but I'll tell you what, if you've ever worked in a company that has multiple stations with multiple companies within that company, this is exactly where you want to be. Notes go here. If you made a special concession or something, it goes right here. And the reason you want that to be there is so that everybody involved in this can see it. Now I'm going to pause here for a second and see if we have some questions.
Tony, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You want to explain to Chris the troubles you're having on trying to get integrated with SmartRate, going from your packages to SmartRate?
Well, I think again for us, it's not that, and I don't want to take too much time because I know that you're trying to get through this. I mean, we're already doing
Tony,
some of the.
This
What's
is
that?
really for you. So this meeting I called was ultimately for you. So go right ahead.
Okay. Well, I just didn't want to get us off track here. I think what we're doing, and again, it's not too far off of what you've got here. It's just instead of doing the per spot rate, we actually developed what was at the time a weekly rate, but we put it into a package form, and we're selling annuals. And so we're selling the annuals, we're getting that. We've just not been able to get it from the package rate down to a per spot rate to where we can make that work. We've had a lot of success in selling these annuals. Just we're having a hard time figuring out how to integrate it back in. Now we also have just some package. Being a small market, we do sports coverage,
Okay.
and we don't allow the. No, that's not really the way to. There is a penalty if you just want to buy football. It's an annual amount, and if you just want to buy football, that's fine. But you'll pay the annual amount in 4 months. Otherwise, we've got you in for each one of the sports, and it's a 12-month contract. So
Okay.
having things like that, we're having a difficult time trying to figure out how to integrate that back in to the smart rate.
Gotcha.
Chris, this is Mike. If I might, we have some of the same issues with items that are either non-broadcast or, with our current system in the paper contracts that we had, we would just say, okay, a talent fee, it's $150. It's a flat bill. And you put one spot in at $150, it works, but the problem is the integration between traffic and this, it actually puts a commercial on the log. But I think what he's talking about is if you have a package for $150 a week and it's, an odd number of spots, you're not going to come out to be perfect. But I don't know if that's really a, big deal as long as you can get it close. And
No, but
all
we
the
can-
salespeople know about it.
Actually, I've got the answer to that. And Ryan, this is a fairly simple one. We have them too. I just see are there no packages in the system right now for us? Ryan?
I don't know. Let me see if I can get that.
Because I know we're not doing a lot of package selling right now.
There may not be.
Okay. This is actually fairly easy within the system. Give us a second here.
Yeah, you can create an actual package for that. The only thing is it doesn't integrate into traffic.
You're talking about when you suck it in.
Yep.
That is a problem. That has to be done, at least in our side here. We have to do that manually because it doesn't have the parameters built in. That
Right.
being said, it's not impossible to do that, but let me see something here. Let me see what Ryan's got here. I always love working with programmers. They bang on those keyboards so hard.
Yeah, I was saying to Ryan before, it would be nice if there was an option where there was a non-broadcast item where you could just click the button and then it wouldn't actually put a spot on the log, but it would bill for it.
See, and that's one of the challenges we have with Natural Log. We always have to put something in. I know that on our side. What are you using for?
Yeah, for it to be billed, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so do we, but she puts it into Marketron's visual traffic, and she'll bring that over, and it's a flat bill item. She actually says one, but it's a non-broadcast item, so it doesn't show up on the logs. So now we're handling it just through. Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can go into Natural Log and go into non-broadcast. There's a complete area in there for non-broadcast as well.
No, that we've got. The problem is when we cross, though, the challenge is if it's non-broadcast, that triggers to the non-broadcast revenue category. And even though this sounds like it's non-broadcast, it still is.
Okay.
In other words, in your accounts receivable.
Right.
And I wouldn't want to cheat ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC out of any money.
Oh, yeah.
My not-so-silent partners. Ryan, are you still alive?
Yeah, he's checking on it now. So,
Okay.
Michael, your non-broadcast billing, can you send me like a general synopsis on how you want that to work?
Sure.
And then I can get that to Alex and we'll get that work done there for you.
Yeah, I talked to Alex a little bit about it, but yeah, I can send you a note on it. I really only use that for our talent fees, and right now what we're doing is we're using the notes section, so how we book our remotes and that. Any of the packaging that we used to do, we simply divide it by the number of commercials, because we have some clients that, you know, we're buying our sports broadcast and it's $500 a month on my AM. We just divide it out by the number of commercials that they get and average it.
And then use a forced rate.
Then use a forced rate, absolutely, because you can override the rate, so that's what we do.
See, and there's one of the things that can be done here, and now that do we have a copy of that package, Ryan?
Yeah, you know what, we had. I just got a note here from Alex. There's no packages that are currently
In our side.
set up.
Do we have a copy? Do we have a copy of his packages?
I don't know. Are they in the system, Michael or Tony?
Yeah, we actually don't use any of the packages that way.
Okay, but do we have a copy of the paper versions of those packages?
Yes.
We do. Who has them?
Yes. I do.
Could you get those over to me today? And I can tell you exactly how to get those into the system so they work. There's two other types of packaging that goes into this. One type is called just a one-sheet packaging. This doesn't help you get it into the traffic system, okay, but it does get it through this. You got the one-sheets, and that's fine, but that's one thing. But then you were talking about your football package with the various options. This can be set up on what's called a fixed-rate package. And you mentioned to me that it goes both ways. You say it's one thing if it's an annual, if it's another thing if it's just sports. And that's easy enough for us to set up, too, so that there's two of them. The staff would come through, and they would say they're doing a new contract. Let's just do this for a second, Carrie. And we'll go for pause again. Test again. Chris, she's going to lose her mind later when she sees all this. Okay, and I go into the package. Now, we don't have a package set here, but what happens is when the package is set in, all the parameters of the package are set, meaning that if it's only in this day part, if it's only on this station, if they can only do this and only do that, but if there are certain things that you say you can do, we can set those in too, which gives them very limited grab in there. In other words, we've had packages in before that are called fixed-rate packages where it's only available on a Friday through a Sunday and only these months and only this day part and only, where we take them down. So your reps would choose from one of the two. One would be an annual contract and one would be a non-annual, and they'd fill it in. Now, it won't help you bring it back in, but it will give it to you in line items so that somebody can key it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And that's in the system. I mean, your package is not in the system. But Ryan, if you have all those, if you get those over to me, I'll give you the map of how to do that. You can have Alex do it this weekend.
Okay.
To my email address.
Yeah, well, I'll send them over right now.
Cool. And I'll tell you exactly how to do it. And then what we can do is once those are in, I can get back with you guys and walk you through exactly how to handle that.